All right, I'll call the meeting of October the 22nd, 2015 to order. Alexander, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, if you'll come to the podium.
Everyone, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Madam Secretary, may we have a roll call?
Commissioner Harker,
Present.
Vice Chair Maggio,
Present.
Chair Saines, Commissioner Gregoire.
Present.
We're going to approve the agenda. I want to make this one change and approve the agenda, and then we're going to use the go to the minutes right after the approval because they are only germane to the three of us. Would that be all right?
I move approval of the agenda as amended.
All right. Is there a second?
Oh, second, sorry.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Approval of the minutes, which were of September the 24th, 2015. Has everyone had a chance to peruse those?
I move approval of the minutes.
No changes? Okay, there's been a motion. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Tonight we have the oath of office that will be administered to our new commissioner. And it will be administered by Mayor Lindsay Horvath, if the two of you would be so kind to come to the podium.
I state your name.
I, Alexander Gerfinkel,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that while serving in the office
that while serving in the office
of a member of the Rent Stabilization Commission
of a member of the Rent Stabilization Commission
of the City of West Hollywood,
of the City of West Hollywood,
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. All right.
Please join us.
Welcome to the commission.
Thank you very much, sir.
I could do that right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the commission. We're happy to have you. We don't have a full body tonight. Chair Saines is on vacation, but she'll join us next meeting.
It's a pleasure to join you. Thank you so much for having me.
We have a public comment. Michael, and you're going to pronounce his last name for me, if I can.
Voitkevich.
Please. Sorry. I need phonics.
No problem. Michael Voitkevich, City of West Hollywood. So in the past couple of weeks, I've had the opportunity to hear two presentations on the current 2014 annual report for rent stabilization and housing. And on one occasion, I actually had the pleasure to ask some questions, which actually led to the confirmation of my suspicion that really there is actually nothing much new except for the figures. Even most of the facts listed are neither new or actually factual. Two programs listed in this report, as if they were new, are very much old ideas, and they can be found in the 2012 report, which includes the idea of unit swapping for those seniors aging in place, as well as seismic upgrading. This is happening on your watch. So here are some facts. About a month ago, the city of LA took a great step towards addressing seismic upgrade in soft-story residential buildings as well as those brittle concrete. Estimated cost per unit for upgrades seismically in soft-story, $5,000 per unit. West Hollywood, as you know, has many soft-story structures. A complete survey that I believe should have been completed 4 years ago still remains at the windshield drive-by level. 2 days ago marked 1 year since the city of West Hollywood put $1 million towards the purchase of a property on Detroit that would ultimately displace 11 households. $1 million could have seismically upgraded 200 units of rent-stabilized housing that is soft-story in nature. Now, I'm a fair person, so what is new is the concept called out yet again in yet another report as aging in place. And what's new about that concept is that it seemingly has already been forgotten, and it's been replaced by the accelerated means of aging through displacement by development. Elsewhere within the 2014 report are the strengths of the code compliance. And yet, former Commissioner Josh Kirby's once directed me to go federal with my concerns of ADA noncompliance in a 5-year-old Sierra Bonita building by WHEHC for those living with disabilities. So since it's been a while since I've been here, I just want to confirm a couple of things, what that building is deficient in, because it's been debated by some on staff. It is non-compliant with the 1991 ADA standards of accessible design. It is non-compliant with Uniform Federal Accessibility Standards. It is non-compliant with the 2001 California Building Code, Chapter 11A of Title 24 California Code of Regulations. It has deficiencies in the City of West Hollywood Municipal Code. It is deficient in HUD, Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity, and it is defiant of Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. It is happening on your watch. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We have no further speaker slips. All right, commissioners, this is your time.
Director Manager's report. Mr. Chair.
Oops.
Yes, I see that now. All right, we'll have the director's manager report, and that'll be Peter Nguyen.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Evening. Looking ahead, our next meeting will be on November 12th, and we do have 2 appeals scheduled for that evening. We will be canceling the November 26th meeting as it's Thanksgiving, and then we have no appeals scheduled on December 10th, and our December 24th meeting will be canceled. Looking at our upcoming discussions, our Things to Know series, in December, we will be sharing the building blocks educational seminars with the Commission. That's the outcomes from the 2015 program and look at the 2016 coming program. That's for the building blocks seminar series. We also will have a Things to Know edition on mediation, and the city's mediator, Joel Hecht, will be visiting us that evening for that discussion. So that is on December 10th. And now I wanted to turn over the microphone to the director, who was going to share a little bit on Aging in Place, which is going to be coming up on November 12th.
I'm Elizabeth Savage, Director of Human Services and Rent Stabilization. Special welcome to you, Commissioner Garfinkel, and welcome back, Commissioner Gregoire. It's good to see you, and hello to others. I am here to let you know on November 12th, we will be bringing the Aging in Place, Aging in Community Strategic Plan to you. It has been well discussed, reviewed, and we've had 27 expert interviews, a large community meeting, a variety of focus groups. You'll see all of that in the report, but most importantly, you'll see that in accordance with the World Health Organization and the AARP, we have designed the strategies to be under 8 domains, and each of those strategies has been refined in a way that over the next 5 years, we believe we'll be able to implement a good deal of this. A lot the city already does and does well in terms of senior and older adult services, but there are some things that drive our concerns. And so we'll talk in some more detail on November 12th and get any of your thoughts about it. I think we've done a pretty thorough job, but we want to make sure, and we're going back to 8 boards and commissions to make sure that we don't have gaps and that we do have people understanding the strategic plan. It is a 5-year strategy, and this is to get it right now over the next 5 years for any issues we have, but also to identify what other agencies and organizations should be doing as well. So I look forward to coming back and seeing you all then. Thank you.
Questions? Any questions for the manager or the director? To the manager, on the next meeting date, will we be doing oath of offices at that time as well?
Yes, we'll have the 2 additional commissioners will be joining the commission on November 12th.
All right, thank you. And Madam Director, are we going to, I had suggested some sort of mini study session. Did you take that into consideration?
It will be scheduled as a regular business item. The report is extensive. You'll be studying. I'm warning you in advance that there'll be quite a bit to study and look at, and then you can bring questions or any other ideas that may not be in it to us. And it's in a regularly scheduled item, not a study session. We would like it to be an action item.
So we will be working from here, not down on the floor with tables, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the director? There are not. Okay, commissioners, this is now your time. I jumped the gun a little bit, but would you care to say something tonight, or wait? Either gentleman?
You know, I'm just going to once again welcome Alexander to the commission. It's always a pleasure to have new commissioners join us, and you know, we're here for you to help train you. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us and ask.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. It's actually an honor to be here with all of you tonight. I'm looking forward to doing some great work for the city and hoping to help our residents and our renters, and specifically those in rent-stabilized housing. So I look forward to the experience and look forward to what I can do to help.
Thank you. Stephanie?
I too would like to welcome Alexander to the commission, and I would like to welcome back Ms. Schoonover, our trusty staff member. And that's all for me tonight. I have something to say at the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have next an appeal before us, which is appeal application D4018, which is the property address, which is 1260 North Havenhurst Drive, Unit 108. Before I ask for a staff report, do we have representatives for the tenant here? No representative of the tenant, okay. And do we have a representative of the landlord here this evening? So we have no representatives, okay. Legal counsel, may we have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Jonathan Holub, Legal Counsel of the Commission. Tenant Jeffrey Mitchell submitted a request for a maximum allowable rent determination, as well as a determination whether the landlord has accepted any amounts above the MAR. Mr. Mitchell moved into Unit 108 as a tenant sometime in 1979 or 1980. He began his tenure as resident manager in 1981. Over the years, he has signed 3 iterations of a standard resident manager employment agreement, which sets forth the terms and conditions under which he is to perform his duties as resident manager. One of these terms is the rental value of the apartment in which he resides for free while he is the resident manager. In the most recent agreement, the rental value of Unit 108, where Mr. Mitchell lives, is listed as $1,200. Mr. Mitchell's services as resident manager were terminated in February 2015. Thus, the owner set the base rent at the agreed-upon rental value of $1,200. The hearing examiner agreed that for a situation in which the owner and resident manager have agreed on a rental value for the unit, the Rent Stabilization Ordinance dictates that when a resident manager loses his position, the base rent for the unit is the amount agreed upon by the parties. She concluded that the MAR is $1,200 and that no excess rent has been retained. Staff recommends that the Commission affirm the hearing examiner's decision. The relevant facts are not in dispute, and the RSO is clear that if the parties reached an agreement as to the rental value of a unit while it was being occupied by a resident manager, if that individual is no longer the resident manager, the base rent for the unit is the agreed-upon rental value. On appeal from the hearing examiner's decision, the Commission reviews the decision on the following grounds: whether there has been a clear legal error, whether the determination is reasonably supported by the findings made or the evidence in the record, and whether the determination constitutes an abuse of discretion. The question on appeal is limited to whether there is any evidence of substance that supports the hearing examiner's finding. If such evidence is found, then the decision must be upheld, even if it is contradicted by other evidence. It is of no consequence that the hearing examiner might have reached a contrary conclusion based on other evidence in the record. The Commission does not reweigh the evidence on appeal. Substantial evidence does not refer to a quantity, but rather quality. That the evidence is of substance and that it is relevant evidence that a reasonable mind might accept as adequate to support a conclusion. The hearing examiner correctly applied the Rent Stabilization Ordinance to the relevant facts of this case, and the relevant facts are not in dispute. Mr. Mitchell moved into the unit as a tenant in 1979. He became resident manager in 1981. He signed agreements in 2001, 2002, and 2012, which set out the terms of his resident manager duties and compensation. Each of these agreements contained a monthly rental value amount for Unit 108, which was the resident manager's unit. Mr. Mitchell lived in Unit 108 rent-free in exchange for his resident manager services, and Mr. Mitchell was terminated as the resident manager in February 2015. The issue then is, what rent must Mr. Mitchell pay now that he is no longer a resident manager? The RSO addresses this issue explicitly. RSO Section 17.08.0102G states, for a unit occupied by a resident manager whose tenancy commenced prior to his or her employment and is no longer the resident manager, the base rent shall be the same as the base rent charged for a unit in the building with the same number of bedrooms, adjusted by any annual adjustments permitted under the title, unless the amount of the rent can be established from the parties' agreement concerning the resident manager's services. As the hearing examiner correctly concluded, the amount of the rent for Unit 108 can be established from the parties' agreement. The most recent agreement from 2012 between the owner and Mr. Mitchell states unequivocally that the monthly rental value for Unit 108 is $1,200. The RSO requires the hearing examiner to abide by the parties' agreement as to the base rent in this situation. So the hearing examiner correctly concluded that the MAR for the unit is $1,200. In his appeal, Mr. Mitchell argues that the hearing examiner did not give enough significance to the amount of rent paid in 1981 for the 4 months that Mr. Mitchell and his mother were not performing resident manager services. At that time, the parties agreed that the rental amount should be $388 per month. But once the tenant resumed the resident manager duties, the amount of rent is then established from the parties' agreement concerning the resident manager services. And in the 2012 agreement, the monthly rental value is listed as $1,200. The hearing examiner concluded that the 2012 agreement properly reflected the parties' current agreement as to the rental value of Unit 108, and that conclusion is reasonably supported by the record evidence and is not clearly erroneous. Both the evidence and the RSO support the hearing examiner's decision, and staff recommends that the Commission uphold it. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for legal counsel? And then, if there are not, we'll go into our deliberation. Do you have questions? No questions. All right, since we have no participants this evening, we can go right into our own deliberation. Commissioners, who would like to start?
I could start. Um, Having read through all of this, especially in light of the agreements that had been signed by Mr. Mitchell and Ms. Woods, I believe, yes. I believe it's clear, and especially since we have no testimony against those facts, that I'm prepared to support the hearing examiner's findings in this case.
Commissioner Gregoire?
You know, I'm going to support the hearing examiner's affirmation of the hearing examiner's decision tonight, because I do believe that the decision made by the hearing examiner was supported by substantial evidence in the record. And I agree that there was evidence in the record that allowed the hearing examiner to determine that the parties did have some agreement with respect to the value of the rent. You know, I'll have to admit I was a little troubled by the fact that this was a tenant that had moved in prior to becoming the resident manager. There's a little bit of me who thinks, gee, the ordinance should provide that the base rent should have been the $388 that he was charged when he first moved in. However, that's not what the law is. So we as commissioners are not charged with determining what the law should be. We're charged with determining, how to, apply the facts to the law as it currently exists. So, in sum, I support affirmation of the hearing examiner's decision tonight.
Well, the fact that he did sign a agreement of 2001, 2, and then 12, in that agreement establishes those rents. So the which was the original move-in date, was 1979. He then became manager in 1981. It's interesting, there was never any agreement between 81 and 2001, but that wouldn't have mattered because 2001, 2, and 12 set out the terms in that agreement. All right, Commissioner Garfinkel, would you like to add some thoughts?
I completely agree with my fellow commissioners in that he clearly signed an agreement which specified the rent going forward if he was to no longer be the resident manager. But I also do second Commissioner Gregori's comments about perhaps there should be some sort of regulation in that regard to help guide future situations that are like this. But again, we aren't here to discuss what should be the law, but simply to analyze what is the law. So I completely stand with my fellow commissioners.
I like always to add a little bit of the ordinance, 17.08.010, in this case, number G, which for the unit occupied by a resident manager whose tenancy commenced prior to his or her employment and is no longer the residence manager, the base rent shall be the same as the base rent charged for a unit in the building with the same number of bedrooms, adjusted by any annual adjustment permitted under the title, unless the amount of the rent can be established from the parties' agreement concerning the resident manager's services. If there is more than one unit in the building with the same number of bedrooms and with different rents, the base rent shall be the same as the average of the rents charged for the units with the same number of bedrooms. Would you like to add, Commissioner?
I would thank you for reading that section. We were at Commissioner comments earlier, these were my thoughts, but I wanted to reserve it till after this hearing, and I will do so now. But I think, again, I didn't want my thoughts on what the law is to affect this particular case, so I will wait till the our comments.
So you'll reserve that comment for your commissioner's time, okay? Are we prepared, are there any further thoughts? No?
No?
Is someone willing to make a motion?
I will make a motion.
All right.
Staff provided us with a draft resolution that reflects staff's recommendation to us this evening. It's Resolution RSC 15-479, which is a resolution of the Rent Stabilization Commission of the City of West Hollywood affirming the hearing examiner's decision on D-4018 involving 1260 North Havenhurst Drive. Since this resolution reflects staff recommendation, I hereby move the adoption of the resolution.
I'll second it.
All right, there has been a motion and there's been a second. The motion, is there any further discussion? There's no further discussion. Madam Secretary, may we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Garfinkel,
A.
Commissioner Harker,
Aye.
Vice Chair Maggio,
Aye.
Commissioner Gregoire.
Aye.
All right. All right, we have no further public comments. I don't see any speaker slips. All right, so Commissioner comments. Commissioner Harker, please.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I forgot to thank Mr. Wojtkiewicz for coming out and speaking tonight. It's always good to have public input, and it gives us, while we're not allowed to respond directly, especially when it's Mr. Wojtkiewicz, you can always count on hearing new information or having giving us thoughts or things to think about. So thank you. And yes, as I was saying, I didn't want this to reflect in any way on the managers or property owners of their previous case, because it's not. It just, while I was reading through this, what came to mind was that perhaps we could amend that section somehow in a future date to reflect a possible cynical use of that. It could happen again. It probably doesn't happen very frequently, that someone has been in that apartment before we were a city even, and then becomes the resident manager. But I could see a possible misuse of that in that if the tenant who becomes the manager doesn't realize that at some point they might be, well, they should realize at some point you may no longer be the manager, and because you're going along thinking, well, you know, that's the value of that, but had he been under rent control, stayed as a resident, his rent probably would only be somewhere around $700 or $800 at this point, regardless of the fact that the other units are renting for that. So what I'm saying is, perhaps there should be some kind of, I don't know, again, an amendment to that saying that the person's rent would still be stabilized, because it's almost as if there's been a vacancy increase or jump it to market rate, because it's becoming market rate even though the person is not moving out of the apartment. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I just think it's something we could possibly look at. Again, I doubt that it happens frequently, but I think that Mr. Mitchell, perhaps in that case, again, it wasn't a cynical use by this landlord, but now he's basically out of a job and he possibly cannot afford his $1,200 a month rent at this point. So, and we could tie that into aging in place as well, I suppose, but I don't know that since they didn't come tonight. But I just think it's something we could look at and think about in the future. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your thoughts. Since it's, of course, not agendized, we can't really have a discussion on that, but perhaps we might ask staff to bring something back for us in the future to look at, and then we could agendize it and maybe have a full discussion. Maybe this is something that could be done at one of our study sessions too, where we have a little bit more opportunity to discuss things of that nature, but it would have to be agendized. All right. Commissioners, any other comments?
No.
There are no other comments, and we have nothing other on there's, of course, I don't want to forget staff. Staff, are there any further comments?
Just a welcome to the new commissioner. Welcome, Commissioner Garfinkel.
Thank you, Manager.
All right. All right. I'm going to now adjourn this meeting to the next regular meeting of the Rent Stabilization Commission to be held on November 12th, 2015, here in West Hollywood Park, Meeting Room, Council Chambers. Thank you.